Today we are going to talk about a super classic high-score science fiction movie. It was directed by a well-known director, written and directed by Christopher Nolan. The total budget for the film is said to be in the hundreds of millions of dollars. Each shot was shot in real life. If you haven't seen it yet, then the next shock. You'll never forget it. The story takes place at the end of the 22nd century. At this time, the living environment of human beings is very bad. Not only do we have to face frequent sandstorms, and to protect themselves from pneumoconiosis, if these conditions are bearable, but the bigger crisis lurks in the farmland. There's a blight sweeping the world. All crops were wiped out. Now the last corn is holding up, but it's only a matter of time before it disappears. In this grim environment, Cooper works for the NASA disbanded. He went from being a pilot to a farmer. Cooper's wife died of pneumoconiosis at an early age. She left behind 2 young children. My son John was honest. Daughters are born smart. Besides, the wife's father also lived with her, and worked with Cooper on a 500-acre farm. Although the living conditions are a little hard now, but the family is very happy and harmonious, until one day, the harvesters on the farm suddenly gather for no reason. Seems to be attracted by some kind of magnetic field. A puzzled Cooper walked into the house to check. A noise came from the room where he found his daughter. Some books fell to the floor on the shelf, but the spaces presented are very regular. I mean, it must be a ghost. I am doing an in-depth study of this phenomenon. The following day, a sudden sandstorm hit the whole farm. Murphy forgot to close the window in his room. Yet in the hand, after a busy foot mess, Cooper noticed that the sand was taking shapes on the ground. The shape is very regular. It's like a real ghost is at work. After a night of intensive research, Cooper has come up with a concrete answer. Throw a coin out at random, and the coin turned and fell. It's obviously not a ghost, right? It's a rare gravitational anomaly. From the shape of the law analysis, it fits perfectly with the binary principle. The wide one is 1 and the narrow one is 0. Get it together before it's too late. It turned out to be a coordinate, because I can't guess what it means. So Cooper wanted to find out. The daughter wanted to go along, but they were ruthlessly rejected. But when the car is halfway, Cooper found out his daughter was sneaking up on him. In the evening, the car made a long journey to its destination, but in front of me is blocked by a high wall. Without thinking, Cooper decided to get out and check it out. Suddenly a strong white light knocked him down. Then he lost consciousness. Wait until Cooper slowly wakes up. A woman named Brandt came up to her, and took him to see his daughter Murphy. It is strange that there's an old colleague of Cooper's at the scene, and this guy is a former NASA professor. From their conversation, it turns out that the space agency wasn't disbanded. He secretly built a base here. The reason why we dare not develop openly, because in this age of food scarcity, people can't tolerate money being spent on space exploration. The Earth is dying now. That's why I want to find a new home in outer space. Cooper understood and explained his situation. The emphasis is on gravitational anomalies coming here. Not only did everyone present not question it, and told Cooper what was going on. 48 years ago, scientists at Saturn, a giant wormhole was discovered nearby. It's a direct route to galaxies billions of light years away, because wormholes don't form naturally. So someone put it there on purpose. Mysterious, they want Earth people past, so we can avoid extinction. Probe through the wormhole. Another system has 12 habitable planets. To find out exactly which one will survive, so the space agency secretly sent 12 pioneers. Each of their ships is a one-way ticket. It also means facing death with no return. To this day, finally 3 planets answered. They were Taylor, Dr. Mann, and Edmonds. Now we just need to go to these 3 planets and confirm the information. Then it can lead mankind out of misery. The professor thinks Cooper can make a surprise visit. Must have been guided by them. The goal is to get them on board. Cooper listened and asked questions. Let's say 3 habitable planets are confirmed. So how do we get the Earthlings there? The professor said there were 2 plans in the quest. Plan A. The space agency will build a giant space station, and then by overcoming Earth's gravity, take humanity out of the galaxy. All we have to do now is figure out the last step in the formula for gravity. Then the plan can be realized. Plan B. If the above plan cannot be completed, then carry 5,000 human fertilized eggs to breed on an alien planet. It also means abandoning humans on Earth. Thinking about the life and death of my family, Cooper agreed to the professor without thinking. The professor said he had been working out gravitational equations for more than 40 years. He thought that by the time Cooper confirmed the message back to Earth, maybe we solved the gravity problem ahead of time. Back home, Murphy didn't understand what his father was doing. He knew that once he went to outer space, it'll be a long wait to see each other again. Cooper and his father-in-law talked a lot that evening. Says he's not willing to stay on the farm. And now is the time for the nation to employ people. It won't just save the family. It might even save humanity. My father-in-law didn't say anything more. I want him to make sure the kids are settled. Then he went to his daughter's room. Cooper spoke softly and patiently. He promised that he would be back soon. Maybe he deciphered the ghost's message, and that word is stay. Cooper didn't believe it when he heard it. I just think my daughter wants to keep him. Then he took out a watch. Says that if you travel at the speed of light in outer space, then relative time will slow down. Maybe I'll be the same age as my daughter when I get back. The words broke Murphy completely. She threw away her watch excitedly. Then he turned away and never wanted to talk to his father again. Cooper was devastated, but he's firmly committed to his choice. Then another book fell from the shelf. Seems to be trying to keep Cooper from leaving. Very sad to go outside. Cooper said goodbye to his son. He told his father-in-law to take good care of the 2 children, and left the farm without looking back. Lift the passenger's blanket. Cooper wished he still had his daughter. Tears soon wet his eyes, but everything looked pale and weak. Murphy eventually chased him out. She never saw her father again. But I don't know that it will have to wait until 100 years later. Cooper then embarked on interstellar travel without hesitation, and it represents humanity's last hope. Cooper was accompanied by a physicist, one of the top astronomers in the country, and Brand, the professor's daughter. This time they were carrying 5,000 fertilized eggs. Once we reach the habitable planet, Plan B will be implemented, and then return to Earth for Plan A. In no time, the spacecraft docked perfectly with a space station called Eternity. To inspire people to explore, the professor sent a poem before he left. The original text of the poem is this: "Don't go meekly into that cold night. Passion must not be drowned by the gloomy twilight. Please roar with anger. Denounce the retreat of time." This poem is a famous line by Dylan Thomas. It's meant to express the knowledge that death lies ahead. Also must unswervingly move forward. Saturn is 750 times the size of Earth, and this faint point of light is Cooper's eternity. After more than 2 years of flight and hibernation, the party of 4 finally reached the vicinity of Saturn. This is the first time you've seen a wormhole in person, but Cooper couldn't make sense of the shape. The physics doctor nearby gave the answer. Before you know it, Eternity is flying into a wormhole. Then a bright river of stars appeared before me. The situation was stable at first, but as it flew, there was a violent jolt. The next thing you know, all the electronics fail. That's when Brand made a surprising discovery. A transparent palm appeared next to it. He shook his hand boldly, but unexpectedly, half of his arm was twisted in an instant. I don't know how long it took. Eternity finally made it through the wormhole. What is surprising? Galaxies here. There's a huge black hole out there. Based on an analysis of 3 habitable planets, they decided to head to Tyler, the nearest planet, because the planet is in the vicinity of a black hole, so his time velocity is gravitationally disturbed. You can calculate that. 1 Taylor hour is equal to 7 Earth years. Maybe when everyone's done surveying, the human race on Earth has long been extinct. Cooper takes Brand and the astronomers to explore. The physicist stayed on the Eternity. Wait for news. While passing near the black hole, you've had a chance to take a closer look. In the face of immense gravity, not even light can escape. Quickly passing through the atmosphere of Tyler's planet, what comes into view is the sea level. Here are the coordinates from which the signal was sent. So Tyler's got to be here somewhere. Knowing that 1 hour under your feet is equal to 7 years on Earth. So no one can afford to slack off. But after a long search, there was no sign. Instead, they found some wreckage. I realized something happened to Miller half an hour ago. So Cooper told everyone to leave immediately. Brand refused to be persuaded to take another look, but by doing so, he has brought his own disaster. A wave of thousands of meters is about to hit. The waves are about to roar in. The accompanying robot Taz came in handy. I saw him running fast toward Brand, and forced it back onto the ship. Unfortunately, upon stepping into the ship, the waves followed. The astronomer was swept away. Obviously not gonna make it. The ship is like a leaf boat, swaying. It was pulled to an altitude of 1,000 meters by the huge waves, and then fall on heavy sprinkles equals. Fortunately, the engine started up again in a crisis, and then fled the planet before the waves came. Back to the Eternity. The physics doctor who stayed behind was pale at the temples. He had been waiting 23 years. Cooper Winyen was surprised. Hurried to the warehouse to listen to the information from the Earth. In the 23 years that Cooper missed, son Tom has grown up and married successfully. The Cooper at first is still smiling, laughing ridiculously and crying. How he wished he could have seen his son grow up. The second video shows John having a son. Cooper responded with an excited hello. The third video shows John reaching middle age. His face was gaunt and his voice hoarse. It was John's son who had died. Grandpa died with him. The more I say, the more it hurts. Finally, he said that he would not leave a message from now on. Cooper knew it was the son who had been disappointed. I thought I'd never go back. This brought a middle-aged woman into view. Cooper knew at a glance that she was his daughter Murphy. Turns out ever since Cooper left, Murphy became a student of the professor, and has been committed to the development of space industry for many years. She wanted to help the professor solve the equations of gravity. But how can the solution not know the answer? At the same time, because of what happened on planet Taylor, the ship is running low on fuel. The planet we're going to now has to be one of 2. Otherwise, you never make it back to Earth. Brand offered to go to Edmund's planet, because Edmonds is his boyfriend, so I think the power of love can make the choice more reliable. Cooper's suggestion to Dr. Mann's planet. After all, he was the captain of the 12 pioneers. Maybe it was a mistake made on Tyler. Brand agreed to Cooper's line. Therewith, the landing ship took several twists and turns to reach the planet Man, and it doesn't look and feel good here. Before we even touched down, we encountered freezing clouds. Follow the coordinates to Dr. Mann. He's been in a pod for years. Stay until everything is settled. Dr. Mann told us about the detection. There are 67 hours of daylight here, and its surface is mostly icy cold. The air is made up of toxic ammonia, so the surface of the planet is not habitable. But there's another layer beneath the planet's surface. There's plenty of oxygen and the right temperature. In summary, it meets the living conditions of human beings. Then a message came from Earth, and the message was an urgent letter from Murphy. She cried that the professor was dead, but before he died, he told a terrible truth. The professor had already solved it. Gravitational formula, but this formula, you have to have data from inside the black hole to make it work. As everyone knows, it's impossible to get that data, which means humans can't execute Plan A at all. It didn't dawn on everyone here until they heard it. I can't believe the professor gave up on humanity decades ago. It was a plan to put everyone at ease. Later time, Man takes Cooper to check the ground floor. Brand and the physicist stayed put and camped, but when the two men came to a cliff, Man apologizes while he tries to kill Cooper. I can't help but wonder here, why did the great pioneers do this? It turns out that the so-called conditions for migration do not exist. Dr. Man made this whole thing up. The message to Earth led to Cooper, just trying to get out of here and back to Earth. After a tussle, Cooper lost a man and fell to the ground. Toxic ammonia gas was also quickly injected into the helmet. Knowing it wouldn't last more than a few minutes, Man turned away without hesitation. The physicist on the other side looks at the device, only to be ambushed. Organs were killed alive. Man, who succeeded in his strategy, took his time and piloted the ship off the planet. Cooper was dying at the same moment, but we found a communication device in the nick of time. Brand, who heard the call for help, didn't hesitate. He flew the spaceship to the scene in seconds, even though Cooper was saved. But the trouble was just beginning. If we let Man dock with the Eternity and leave, then Cooper and Brand are dead. That's when the robot Taz told everyone. I suspected Dr. Man was lying. That's why we set up access to Eternity's connection ahead of time. Sure enough, Dr. Man didn't make a good connection. He lost his mind in a hurry. They forced the door open. In an instant, the intense pressure shattered Man's. It also sent the ship crashing into the Eternity. This sends the entire space station spinning and slide towards the black hole not far away. Cooper knows the gravity of the situation, but he seemed unfazed. Used the thrusters to get under the Eternity. And then we got the ship to rotate in sync with it. The centrifugal force caused Brand to pass out. Cooper, for his part, pulled through with tenacity. By the time the ship docked perfectly with Eternity, Cooper slowly stops the rotation with a reverse thrust. The survivors were not happy for 2 seconds. Tarth warned the Aeon that it was too depleted. They have no ability to return to Earth. There's only one option. That is to travel to Edmund's planet. The sad thing is, we don't have enough fuel to make it to Edmund's. Cooper thought about it and came up with a good idea. Eternity is free to glide to the edge of the black hole, and then use its gravity for a ride, and then abandon a ship as a boost. Escape from gravity, thus depend on. Gravitational inertia is pushing Eternity toward Edmund's. Things are going well. But there was an accident in the final segment. The ship that Tuss piloted sacrificed himself as a booster. Cooper's ship made the same choice. Turns out that description was hiding something. 2 ships are needed to lift them out of gravity. At that, Cooper falls into a black hole with the robot Taz. Deep black holes have no light at all, until there were countless stars behind. As the noise of the collision grew louder, the speeding ship is instantly torn apart by gravity. Cooper also ejected at the last minute.